we're going to use this tension piece of equipment right here. This is going to chest or stretch our chest out. Like I said earlier, all you need to do, whether it be a band, a towel, or a broomstick, anything that you can pretty much hold in a straight line like this. It does not have to be necessarily pullable. Just something to give your hands some form. And you're just going to let that rest back there. And we're going to stretch out that chest a little bit. This is going to be on your own time for this first activity, just because we're all going to have different pieces of equipment, different tensions that we're using. So if you ever need to relax, that's more than okay. Just re-engage when you need to. And of course, even if you don't have anything like that at home, one thing you can always do is put your hand back on that wall, pull our body in, and then twist away, keeping that shoulder as close to it as you can. That's another great way to stretch our chest. Just try holding each side for about 20 to 30 seconds before you go ahead and switch arms there. If we still want to get the benefit out of that chest stretch, which is really important, guys. We do want to stretch that chest because when we're sitting at our laptops all day, we tend to let those shoulders roll over. Typing like this, we may even lean forward a little bit, have a rounded spine where we don't want to have it, which allows that chest muscle right here to tighten in as our body gets used to having our shoulders so far forward. So it's a great opener right here. If you guys are utilizing the wall for that chest stretch, make sure you take some switches every now and then, especially if you've been on that one side. Go ahead and make sure you switch on over to the other. And you guys can go ahead, release that tension piece of equipment. That's all we're going to use that for today. Chest stretches are over. What I'm going to have you guys do next here is we're going to hinge first at the hips, stretching our hamstrings. Once we feel that hamstring stretch, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of permission here to extend the spine as well. Allow it to flex over, elongating, basically letting those back extensor muscles relax here. And we're stretching both the hamstrings and the low back. You can feel free, of course, to touch the ground. Or, of course, you can just cross your arms here. Let yourself kind of just dangle in that motion. Both are okay right now. Again, this is another position we're just going to kind of hold for a little bit. So if you ever need to come up, what I want you guys to do is here are the instructions. You'll put your hands on your shins first, and then you extend at the low back, keeping the legs perfectly the same, so that we get that nice straight back as if we were doing a hip hinge in one of our strength classes. So that we have a straight back, our hands are going to go around our knees pretty much. Then we're going to hinge at the hips to come up again with that straight back. That's going to be how we come back up. But of course, don't worry about doing that until you are ready. Otherwise, just enjoy that stretch for a little bit. All right, at that moment, I'm going to have you guys place those hands on those shins, tracking our hands up as we extend the spine there. Nice little visual for you. Once you feel you got that nice straight back, go ahead, extend forwards, coming up at the hips. Similar movement. We're going to spread our legs a little bit, guys. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to go down towards the center. Again, this is something you can let your hands touch the ground, or you can just cross those arms so that we're feeling a little bit more free as we're dangling right there. Same thing. I'm going to have you first extend that spine before you hinge yourself all the way up to the top again. Make sure you have that nice straight spine before you go ahead, bring yourself up. What we're going to do is we're going to come down to a knee here. We're going to work on our hip flexors a little bit. It's something that get really tight, especially when we're sitting all day in this position. Our hip flexors don't get much extension, so this is something we're going to pay a little attention to. We're just going to be in a basic lunge position to start us off here. Neutral pelvis, torso upright. Drive that forward lightly. If you feel you need a little bit more of a stretch from there, I'm going to recommend you first try twisting into this up leg, and it's not something you have to grab here. Feel free to just rotate your body. And if you need something a little bit more than that, you can also try leaning over to this direction. Again, we're just playing around with the hip flexors a little bit, guys, trying to get them a nice little stretch. And from there, you guys, I'm going to have you switch legs, doing the exact same thing. Start in that neutral position, then add in some additional twists and leans as necessary to attack that hip flexor right there. When I said attack, we still want to be gentle. We still want to be smooth in these stretches, allowing for just a slight amount of tension, nothing too painful, nothing too uncomfortable, something you just notice is there, and go ahead and allow yourself to relax to it. That's really the trick, guys. We have sensory neurons in our muscles pretty much telling our body when it stretches too much or too little. So once you feel that stretch just a little bit, let your brain tell that muscle it's okay to relax, and then we can start slowly pulling at it. Kind of like a rubber band. You know, if you ever put a rubber band on your wrist, that rubber band will eventually conform to your wrist size if your wrist is big enough. Same thing, you could travel it all the way up your arm. Versus if you were to just stretch your rubber band and release, it's going to go flying. So we want to let that rubber band or our muscle really conform to the stretch and not just bully it into stretch and release. Something we really want to avoid for a nice muscular health. One more time, guys. I'm going to have you switch back to that first leg here. See if you can't go a little bit deeper, a little bit farther into that stretch than you ended or than you were at the start of last time. Not necessarily picking up where you left off, just hopefully picking up further along than where you started last time. And if you didn't, that's okay. Stretching is something that we have to incorporate daily or at least a few times throughout the week if we want to really see improvements. But even if we're not going for flexibility goal increases, stretching is still a great thing to do just to get blood flow going back throughout the days. Like we're calling this a midday stretch break. There's also a midweek stretch break. It's just a great way to get blood flow going throughout the body. Helps us re-energize, refocus. Just a nice break from sitting down all day. Go ahead, switch for me one more time for that second leg. And from there, guys, I'm going to have you bring it on down to the ground here. Similar to what we were doing while we were standing up, I'm going to have you spread those legs and reach right down to the middle. Now that our hamstrings aren't engaged or to stand up, we can focus a little bit more about our adductors or those interior thigh muscles, those muscles that help us bring our legs together. Almost not completely taking the hamstrings out of the equation here. And from there, guys, I'm going to have you bring those legs in. Nice butterfly stretch here. Similar concept. We're attacking those interior thigh muscles, bouncing off of that previous stretch. If you need to, feel free to drive those legs down, those knee downs with your elbow. And one more time, spreading those legs down towards the middle. See if we can't start a little bit deeper into that stretch than we started on our first repetition. And go ahead, raise it up right there, guys. We're going to take it down to the mat here. Stretch our glutes a little bit. We're going to be paying attention to the piriformis muscle specifically, a nice muscle that can get nice and tight from sitting at a desk all day. So what we're going to do is raise one ankle, place it on top of the opposite knee, then take that bottom leg and pull it in, hopefully feeling a stretch right in that outside hip bone. And right there, go ahead, switch it over, doing the same thing, other side. And right there, go ahead, relax. We're going to finish off doing one of my favorite stretches. It's a 4-way neck stretch here. Great way to get blood flow going back up to the brain. Our brain, one of our really important organs that likes to have a lot of blood flow, a lot of oxygen so that it can focus throughout the day, maintain its function. So to do that, we're going to start by dipping this chin into our chest, stretching the back of our neck. I'll take this time to mention that all of these stretches are something you can do at any time of the day if you ever feel yourself waning a little bit, losing focus. It might seem unproductive at first, but go ahead, take some time to just stretch it out. From there, I'm going to have you guys raise your heads up, tilting it back, chin goes up towards the sky, stretching the front of our neck. And back to center, one ear to the same side shoulder. Raising that up, same thing, other shoulder.